everyone. Welcome to our product management class. Today's topic will be focusing on product launch. Alright, with me for this video are Ms. Irikha Teves and Ms. Shan Mei Sysing. The first speaker would be me. I am Cristine Sienes, and we are level 3 marketing management students. Learning objectives for this discussion would be to understand how a planned product launch is beneficial, to understand the various elements of a product launch, and to understand some key decisions needed in a product launch. Again, let us now discuss product launch and its objectives. This is a product launch. Product launch is the final stage of the product development process. It signifies the point at which consumers first have access to a new product. Promotion begins prior to product launch. So in launching product, the promotion has already been going on before the product launch. Now, before we move on to the next slide, let us first read a statement from David M. Albury. In the modern world of business, it is useless to be a creative, original thinker unless you can also sell what you create. Management cannot be expected to recognize a good idea unless it is presented to them by a good salesman. If we look at the market today, it is evident or it is obvious that the competition is getting high in all types of products, which is why companies are motivated to continue coming up with innovative products in order to have a competitive advantage in the market. Now, this is why having a product launch plan is very important for the success of a product, especially when introducing a new product. So in this context, there are 4 ways to get started with a successful product plan. Alright. Now the first one would be understanding the market. This is the beginning of everything, of all the process. Of course, before launching a product, we do research on what the market needs, but that is prior to the launching. In this context, we're already talking about a product launch. So in order to have a successful product launch, you have to understand your target market, how this target market behaves, in order for you to come up with an effective way to communicate your new product. Next would be market and pre-sell the product before the actual launch date. As I mentioned before the actual date, the product has already been promoted, or the promotion has already been starting. In this way, you would know how your product would be accepted to the market, but in this time, only a smaller part of the market. Meaning, you will choose a certain area wherein you can test your product, right? Then the third one would be include active bonuses, or include active bonus offers rather. Now, including bonuses and attracting offers with the product will improve the chances of success and earnings gained from the launch. One of which would be bonuses, would be discounts like freebies, or there are, let's say, packages. An example of which may be, so when it comes to phones, there are cell phones who offers, if you sell or you pre-order, you will have a 3,000 worth of accessories like power banks and stuff. So that is one of the bonus offers when launching a new product. Now moving on to the fourth one, keep the price low initially during the launch. This is also one of the effective ways to launch a product. You could start it low at first. As what I have mentioned before, it could be that when you pre-order, this is the price that you offer to the market. Then after that period of pre-order, or maybe after that part of pre-order, we could start raising the price according to what according to the according to how you wanted to gain profit. But of course, we have to keep in mind that in pricing, you have to think of the consumers or the target market, because the target market only pays what they are willing to pay. Moving on to the next slide. We already discussed the 4 ways to get started in a product launch. Now let's move on to the objectives of a product launch. The first one would be to give products some momentum in the market. Next is to announce it to all customers. Of course, this is when you introduce your product and let the market know that this product existed, that this product answered their needs. Next, to use the opportunity to get some pre-booking for the product. Now, for this part, this is where, as I've mentioned before, this is where you could offer bonuses for pre-orders or special prices, discounts, and others. And also, this is where also you could try to, as what I mentioned, discounts. You could offer smaller prices. Then later on, after that period of pre-booking, you could already increase the price. You could already increase the price to its, or you could turn it back to its normal price. Next is to fill distribution channel by telling all channel partners that after the launch, customers will want the product immediately. So after the launch, you have to promise or to ensure to your distributors or channel partners that after the launch, this product will be in, or this product will sell, or this product will be the customers will want this product immediately. Next, the last objective is to inform internal customers that the development phase is over and the product is being commercialized. So this is when all operations stop. The development is already stopped now. The development is stopping, and the product is already out in the market. So there's no development. There's no longer development already because the product is already active. Now, moving on to the next subtopic, or the next portion of our discussion, I will now hand you over to Ms. Irikha Teves.
In order to launch a product in an effective manner, the company has to undertake a large amount of groundwork before the launch date. So these are the preparation for the launch. And here, the product launch strategy is a culmination of a lot of work done on the product since its conceptualization through its development and testing, then finally to its launch. And in order to launch a product, we need to work with the funding, the marketing, and the public relations, as well as the development and many other channels to get the product off the ground. So in preparation for the product launch, the company must ensure that it has the right strategy for the right product or the product launch. So it also has the right combination of the 4 P's so as to have a competitive edge in the market. So the new product strategy, it is developed right at the start of the development process, and it is fine-tuned throughout the development process. And this strategy provides a long-term vision of the product and how it fits with the business objectives of the company. So there are 3 components of this strategy, and these are the competitive strategy, the market strategy, and lastly, the company analysis. For the competitive strategy, this defines for the company how the product will be differentiated in the market from its competitors. So it defines its positioning and what values the customer will seek in the product. A lot of this is also based on the strength of the company and what is capable of providing to its customer. So the basis of defining the competitive strategy is how the company wants the product success to be measured. And here, does the company look at the product in terms of adding from the company the top line, which we call as sales, or a bottom line, what we also call as profit? Or it is expect to capture a large market share, or it wants the product to help the company market penetration objectives. So for example here, Here, as what I've mentioned for the definition of the product's USP, the USP, unique selling proposition in the market, is defined at the time the product is approved for the development and the customer requirement documentation is frozen. So subsequently, as it passes through the various development phases, it might undergo with subtle changes depending on how the development takes place. And here, if there is a roadblock in the development of a product, a specific material is not available, or it is just too expensive, or there isn't a technology needed but it is not available because of the licensing issues or any other problem, and so the product specification are modified marginally. So the effort is to ensure that the competitive strategy is not changes. If some fine changes are made needing some fine-tuning, the strategy may also be fine-tuned along with the development process, and this must be outlined by the following, which are the functional benefits of the product and psychological benefits. For the functional benefits of the products, these are the benefits that can be measured in physical terms, such as the time, the money, and duration. For the psychological benefits, these are those that give the customer the pleasant of the feeling of self-esteem, the feeling of power, and the pleasant view, and so on. And the objective of the competitive strategy is just to place the product in the market in such a way that it also allows the company to have an advantage over their competitors. So the competitive strategy consists of the following. Firstly, an analysis of competition of their products and competencies. Second, a SWOT analysis of their products. Third, a statement of areas where the company has an advantage over their competition. Fourth, it also gives how the new product will be positioned as compared to competitive products. And lastly, it also gives a great scenario of a current market and a projection of the scenario by the time the new product will be ready to launch. The market strategy. This analyzes the various aspects of the market and its customers. From this, the company evaluates what the types of customers are available in the market, and it also tries to uncover if there are any new application or customers types that can be added to the new product being planned. So since this will be enhanced in the area in which the product can be sold, thereby increasing the possibility of the product success. So as we all know that there are new product development originates from the customer need or unfulfilled desire. The study and analysis of these unfulfilled desires has already led us to begin new product development whose competitive advantages we have outlined in the competitive strategy. So now, added to this competitive advantage, the company wishes to deliver to the customer, it must also evaluate its own strength. The various types of customers that can be targeted in addition to the initial segment that the product was aimed for. So based on this analysis, the company must find the best way of delivery of new product if it has to be succeed in making a new for itself and ensuring that the product is successful in the market as it will be launched. The company must undertake an analysis of the following areas for making a successful marketing strategy. It actually has three, which are the consumer analysis, the customer characteristics, and lastly, the buying process. For the consumer analysis, in order to be able to sell to the customer, to the company, they must know their customer. They must know his characteristic, his buying process, and what type of benefits it seeks. It's either a physical or emotional. Second one is the customer characteristics. First of all, we need to define if our customer is a business to business or customer or a business to consumers customer. We also need to define the demographic characteristic of the customer along with the area in which the customer is, since both these factors have significant effect on the buying process of the customer. Lastly, the buying process. And every type of customer has and this business varies from product to product. So if a customer is buying a bathing soap, to the process, effort, and involvement the customer will be significantly different from what they are buying a car or a consumable durable. For the marketing strategy as well, the company must evaluate who is the decision-making person. So in this, In a business to business, the decision may be taken by the manager, so we must know which one is important to take the product decision to him. In a business to customer situation, the decision may be taken by the family or may be taken by one person in the family, by the father, mother, or even on the child. The more the people involved in the decision making, the more complicated the process is. Second one, at what time or periodicity does he buy? The frequency of the purchase can have a significant effect on the company's strategy. For example, here, a large number of products are sold during the marriage season or a festival season. So this will vary with the demographics of the population. Example, the Diwali and Eid come at the different times of the year. And so the purchase pattern in demographically different areas will vary. So the third one here is, how does he buy it? Depending on the different types of products and the customer category, the process of purchase will vary. It can be impulsive at one end of the spectrum and highly considered as the other end of the spectrum. So if the person has to buy an ice cream, he may buy it on an impulsive, but if he also wants to buy a house, he may be consider various options and look at each of them and take his time before making decisions. Lastly is, how does he pay? Once a customer decides to purchase the product, he must pay for it, and it has been seen that if the payment can be facilitated, it can lead to enhanced sales. About 2 or 3 decades ago, all payments were in cash. So if a customer did not have a cash, he could not buy a product until he saved enough money to buy the product. However, over the last 15 years, we have seen the introduction of various options in payment. The introduction of the credit cards, the debit cards, or loans for the consumer durables, home, and now internet banking has facilitated the sales of the many products. So if we see car sales companies analyze that customers do not have all the cash needed for purchasing cars, and so they are tied up with the financing companies to provide loans for their products, and these are loans were provided at the sales outlet of the companies, with the customer not having to run around banks to get loans. So because of this convenience, the customer began to buy cars in much larger number in comparison to what was being bought earlier. The market analysis, this are the company does not intend to sell to only one person. So it must know that the customer profiles, thus it now has to group all the persons sharing the same profile. So it is called as customer market segment. A market is a group of customers or a prospect sharing their characteristic, all of whom get the benefits offered by the product or service. So the company must first define the market for the company's products. When we begin to group customers, we see that we find that for the some products categories, the user cannot be categorized, while in some cases we can do so. We thus have two broad categories of a customer markets. First is the undifferentiated markets. So these are the markets in which the product is used by all the categories of people without discrimination of age, the sex, income, or social standing. And it has the benefit for all the categories or segments of the markets. For example, the Coca-Cola, the Pepsi, these are consumed by virtually all the segments of kinds of customers. And second category is the segmented market. So these are the markets where the products can be targeted to specific customer segments or groupings of customers based on some parameters. So the company must segment the market into different segments based on its requirement of application of the product. These parameters could be demographic, psychographic, and geographical. For the demographic, this needs to divide the population on measurable variables such as just age, sex, income, educational level, and so on. For the psychographic parameters, these parameters are emotional, and these are difficult to measure, and sometimes this can give valuable information based on the type of product. For the geographical parameters, these are the customers by area, city, state, country, market, and here, based on its definition, the company must evaluate the total size of the market. And while segmenting the market, the company must ensure that each segment must be homogeneous, consistent, profitable, and executable. Homogeneous, it means that a segment must be clearly different from other segments in the same broad market. For example, a segment having a people's ranging income from 20,000 to 200,000, it is not homogeneous and not useful for marketing strategy. And here, the consistent a segment must have a large number of prospects to allow a company to make profit. Profitable, a segment must generate profit. It means that the prospects in the segments must be sufficient income with regards to the product price. So if you sell a luxury car, it is not a good idea to choose a segment which only contains middle income people. Lastly, the executable, it means that the company can reach the segment through advertising, sales force, and distribution. So it does not make any sense to choose a segment if it is not unable to reach the people who are in the segment. For example, if we want to sell a toy in Japan and if we do not understand the Japanese culture, we will never be able to sell that product in the market. For the last one, the company analysis, the introduction of the product needs to be fully backed up by a company's strength and abilities. So the company must analyze its capabilities and to see if there are in line for the company. If a company does not have the ability to undertake the extended distribution, then either the product must not be the one that needs to be distributed, or it must then select channels that do not depend on the distribution, or just that must tie up with a partner that will be able to help them in overcoming the company's weakness in distribution.
Now that we have already discussed the preparation for launch, let us now proceed to the next portion of our discussion, which is the final decisions. Now, in launching a products, there are still final decisions that you have to make, of course, after the preparation. There are still final decisions that that are needed in order to have an effective product launch. Not the beginning, at the development stage, the strategy has already been laid. However, the development stage actually takes a longer time, and as it takes a longer time, while you're developing your strategy or your product, that time frame, at the same time the market is also changing. It's also changing. That is why, since the time when you're developing your product, the market is also changing. There are things that needed to be adjusted in order to meet the changes in the market. Now, the company, if in case this happens, the company must check on the relevant or what is the current market situation, because prior to that during the development stage there already been changes. So as you are nearing your launch, you have to evaluate the market again. What is its current position? And the company then decides on the 4 P's of the product. The 4 P's, what are the 4 P's again? Okay, the 4 P's are the product, price, place, and promotion. Now, this is where companies evaluate on how to price the products, of course in consideration to the market situation. Because again, during the development stage, the market is also changing, and development stage takes time. You don't just say, "Oh, we will launch a new product," and on the next day or in the next month you have to launch. No, it's a long process. Now, the next would be the distribution. Of course, you have to contact all channel participants and what changed in the markets. Of course, all these, the distribution, the promotion, and the product itself, you have to make changes or make final decisions in line with these 4 P's, and of course in consideration of what changed in the market or the current market situation. first one in the 4Ps would be the related product related decisions. Now, in this topic, in this portion, there are actually two key decisions that company needs to take before the product for the product. And the first one would be the brand. What brand will be used to launch the product? Will it be a main brand or a sub brand? The company must make these decisions based on the parameters discussed under branding decisions. So we have already discussed a whole chapter on branding decisions, and in this case, this is where the company decides whether they wanted to use their brand or they wanted to use a sub brand. Okay. And I think one of the examples that I could give would be NutriAsia. In the manufacturing, NutriAsia is a manufacturing firm, and one of its products are UFC ketchup. And you wouldn't know that you never knew that the manufacturer of these products are NutriAsia, because what we know is the brand that is UFC. We never knew that the manufacturer is NutriAsia. Okay. They are actually putting another brand name under their brand. They did, and the logo or the name NutriAsia was never found in the front label. It's only found at the back, so you would never know that the manufacturer of this is NutriAsia, because they're using another brand name for their product. And not only UFC, but there are still others like Dato Puti and Silver Swan. There are still others that they manufacture, yet using a different brand name. So that would be one of the decisions that you have to make prior to launching a product. Next would be product breadth. At the time of launch, the company has to finally position the product amongst the various other products of the company. It must decide what will be the initial features of the product and how many variants of this product will the company launch. Now, since you already have a new product, you have to position it in your company first, because if your company is offering variety of products, you have to know in which line does this product fall, and how many variants are you going to offer. Let's say, for example, a cell phone. Usually when it comes to a phone, there are only 3 or 4 variants, and these variants will be the colors of the phone are black, and they offer different colors of the phone and its storage. So that is one. An example of this would be, let's say, Samsung. Samsung does not only sell smartphones. They also sell TVs and other gadgets, or even appliances. Now, when launching a new product, they have to position where is this product belong. For example, if they are launching a new Samsung phone, of course this phone would fall on the smartphones part of their product mix. Now this is also where they have to decide how many variants they have to offer. That is where, as I've mentioned, the color and the storage, because there are instances when they offer 128 gigabytes and 250 something gigabytes, and actually the price varies depending on the storage, as what I have observed so far. Now, moving on to the next slide. Now that we have already discussed the product related decisions that we have to make, let us now proceed to the next part of the 4Ps, which is the price, or the pricing related decisions. Now, price is the first parameter that the customer uses to evaluate the product. If a product is very high, customers will not buy the product. That is a fact. If the prices are high, it's too high, customers will not buy the product. And if the prices are too low, it will not meet the profits, or it will not the company may not meet its profit or business objective. So this is why, hence, before the product launch, the company must first is finalize the price. Now, the criteria for defining the price comments from various costs that was made when in making the product, one of which would be the development, the manufacturing, the raw material manufacturing that includes the raw materials used, the storing or the storage of the finished goods or the finished goods inventories, now the distribution, and of course the marketing or the promotion of the product. However, the prices is dependent on what the customer is willing to pay, because if your goal or if the mindset of the company is to price this product because in order to cover the expenses that was made in making and producing the product, then tendency would be they would price it high. And again, as I've mentioned, if the price is high, the customers will not buy the products. Now, moving on. Pricing policy. Company will need to make several decisions on price once the product is in the market. These decisions will be needed to counter competition, to cater to different customer groups, or to the sales channel or large institutional buyers. So pricing, in the pricing policy, there are actually different policies that would make sure that it would help the company counter the competitive price or their competitors. There are different prices that you have to consider, such as the competitive price, and these pricing policies will not only protect the company, but these pricing policies also have a way that protects also the buyers or the customers. Now let's proceed to the next one. We are now on the third P of the 4 P's, which is the promotion related decisions. Now, based on the product being launched, the company's resources, the market conditions, customers, etc., the company must decide on the type of promotion and the extent of promotion. Thus, the company must decide on the first one, of course, the promotion budget. There has to be a budget when promoting a new product. Now, the promotion budget outlines the total resources the company is willing to commit on the launch of the product and see it through the initial stages of growth. Now, and this is in the promotion budget. This is where the company outlines what the resources that it's willing to commit in launching this product, as what I have mentioned. And then, of course, in launching a product, budget is needed because they're the advertising. And mind you, in advertising or promoting our products, there are already different types of advertising these days, especially now that the market is evolving. There's already the digital markets. There are social media platforms. So the traditional way of promotion is still here, but we also have to consider the trend or the growing power of social media and the internet. That is why when it comes to promotion or the promotion or advertisement, there has to be a budget for that. The next one would be define the promotion costs and activities to be undertaken at the launch. This is part of the tactical plan that lays out the specific activities and their costs that the company plans to undertake while launching the product. Defining the promotion expenditures, giving clear view of the cost for promoting the new product. Right. So when we define the promotion costs and activities undertaken, let's say, for example, one of the activities in promoting a product would be an product launching event. That's one of the activity that the company has to that some companies do. They do a product launching event. And usually when they during this product launching event, who are invited during this time, this would be the early adapters. The early adapters. Now, in defining, and this is where the companies have to define the how to outline. That's what I have mentioned on the first part. In the previous slide, there's a promotion budget, and if there's a promotion budget, of course, the costs and the activities have to be laid out. And what are the plans? What are the plans or effective activities that the company has to do at launch? So this is where all the expenditures are laid out, a clear view on the cost and promoting a new products. Next is define the sales force needed during the promotion. Any new product launch needs an additional amount of sales force in order to ensure that placement of the product in the market and at appropriate places on the shelves, to undertake special promotions on the ground, to ensure that the channel understands the benefits of the product, especially in financial terms. Now, in this part of the promotion, in order to promote the product, the company must communicate the value of the product that they are trying to offer to the market. And who are the people that they need to communicate with the features and the benefits of their products? It is the sales force. And who are these sales force? It would be the distributors or the channel partners, or their channel partners that would be responsible in selling or in distributing their products. And how to effectively distribute these products, that is, of course, you have to brief these channels on what are the benefits of these products, what are the features, and how would it fit to different types of customers. So there are actually different techniques that this salesperson or this the sales team would use in order to sell the product to the market. Now, moving on to the last P of the 4 P's would be the place or distribution. Now, we have already discussed product, price, and promotion. Now let's move on to the distribution of the products. Now, the effectiveness and ability of the channel to move product is important. Hence, the company has to decide on choice of channel. Now, the company must make a choice of the channel on which channel to use. Existing channels are simplest to use, but they may not always be best suited. Companies must evaluate a complex set of issues and decide on the channel. In combination with the channel expenses and distribution intensity, it forms a distribution plan. The plan contains information about the organization of the distribution of the new product, and it's part of the tactical plan. Now, for this one, this is where companies chooses the channel in which they want the channel of distribution. They could use their existing channels, but it may not. But I believe that it depends on what type of product on the type of product that they are trying to launch, because existing channels may not, as what I have mentioned, as what you have read on the slide, it's not, the existing channel may not always be suited for the product that is being launched. This is why before the choosing a channel is one of the best way in order to make sure that the product reaches your customers. And why is that so? In our distribution management class, it was mentioned that products are easily, let's say, duplicated. Of course, there are many products with the same features, and the same benefits, and the only difference would be in the price. Some competitors would, let's say, duplicate a certain product, and the competitors would price that product at a low price. But an effective that is actually true. Products are easily duplicated, and competitors could always price it at low price, as I have mentioned. And what the company could do was to make sure, but what is hard to replicate or to duplicate is the channel mix, or their choice of channel, which is why this is a very crucial decision in launching a product. Know your product and know what channel to use. Next, distribution related decisions that companies have to make are the channel margins and other channel expenses. The company must balance between the cost of channel versus how much it wants the channel partners to feel motivated to push the product. The defining the channel expenses gives a clear view on the cost for distributing the new products. Of course, in the company is the objective of the company is to gain profit and meet its business objectives. But the company also has to consider their channel partners. They must, let's say, they have to offer wholesale discounts or shipping discounts in order to at least motivate their channel partners to push their product in the market, because it is it's a big competition. It is a big competition, and tendency is, especially when we're talking about, let's say, goods, and there are some big retailers. They are not only selling one product; they're selling various kinds of products from different manufacturers, and the company should take into consideration that the importance of this the importance of these intermediaries to their business, because these intermediaries helps them in production. It helps them in production and in improving their products. Why did I say so? Because these channel partners, let's say for example, the intermediaries, which are wholesalers and retailers, these are people who are closer to the market, which is why if they're closer to the market, they get to receive feedbacks from the market, and these feedbacks or this information that they gathered could be very useful to the manufacturing firms or the manufacturing businesses. And that is one of the importance of these channel members. Next, the next distribution related decision is define the channel or distribution intensity. The company must evaluate how much territory a given distributor will cover. The intensity may or may not need the addition of another layer in the distribution channel. Now, this is in this line in this distribution related decision, the company or the company must define the market coverage of a certain distributor, because the tendency, because why is it so? Because if there are two, let's say for example, in one city or in one area, there are two distributors there, then the tendency would be they would be competing with each other. And there will always be someone who is uh, will also be someone who will have better sales than the other. So you would be losing one of your channel. It is not wise. It is not wise to have two distributors at one area. So you have to make sure, the company have to make sure that in each area there should be only a single distributor, and that distributor, they should know the intensity on how much market coverage does that distributor covers, in order for that this is to avoid conflict between channel members. We have discussed this in our distribution management class. The conflict between channel members cannot is not the conflict between channel members is something that can be avoided. All right. So this is why companies have to define the channel or distribution intensity of their distributors in order to avoid conflict among channel partners. Now, let me give the floor to our next speaker, Miss Shan Mei Sysing.
Good afternoon, everyone, and we will now proceed with the actual launch process. For the launch process itself, it would commence around a few weeks before the actual launch of the product itself into the market, and it will then continue until the product has been successfully launched. For this part, we can properly break the process into three parts itself. First is known as the period before the launch. This is a small period of time, which is a few days or weeks before the actual launch or announcement date. It also concerns the logistics of the actual launch of the product. And in this period, the full scale production of the product starts with the variants that the company has decided to launch at the initial stage itself. The period just before the launch is more on the preparation of the actual launch itself, adding hype and promoting the product and allowing the market and sales channels to be filled up to the brim. Be reminded though that in this period, retailers do not have the product in their hands, but they are aware of its arrival along with it as they are briefed on the product about it already. One of the many examples that I could think of is more on what Nintendo Direct does, which is where they would talk about the upcoming games or upcoming consoles that they are planning or certain updates that the consumers would want to know beforehand, which is more on amping up or hyping up the audience to know what to expect in the future. Let's first talk about some few several types on how a product can be launched. One is a product is just sent into the market and the launch is communicated to the commencement of advertising. One of the examples from the book is about the launch of the Chevrolet Optra. The second one, which is the other case, is the launch is undertaking at a formal location and in a very formal manner. And the example of the book is about the nano car and which was apparently launched through a well choreographed launch in a hotel. If this is the launch that is more on what the company would prefer, this launch type is more would be preferred to be prepared in this phase rather than on the upcoming phases that we will talk about. We will now proceed with the next period, which is the actual product launch. Now there's a simultaneous execution of the advertisements of the product, along now with an announcement of the product, which has now been launched to the public. Now the product is on a riding high from the previous period as it is now amped up from the previous promotions. In this period, the customers would want to try the product itself and begin the process of accepting and repurchase of the product that they are now know of. Now that the product is launched, the sales force must ensure that the retailers have received the dispatch product itself and that it is placed where customers can see clearly along with its promotional material prominently. But of course, Salesforce can't go to the multiple places where the product is being sold off, so they would prioritize the outlets by terms of sales, which is by it can be easily understood that the retailer that has more sales of the product or more sales from their previous product would have more priority in comparison to the retailers that would have lesser sales of the product or previous products that the company would sell to them. We're now on the final period of the launch process, which is just after the launch. This is a period of few weeks or months after the product launch. It is a very critical period in the life of a product because it is in this period that the company realizes if the product has been accepted or rejected by the customers. In this part of the presentation, you can see it on page 251 on what the company must do during this period, which is monitoring sales and evaluate if they are up to the mark expected by the company before the launch of the product. They must evaluate the market's purchasing the product to see which segments are actually buying the product. They must evaluate and rectify any limitations in the distribution channel. If any drastic feedback is received from the customers, then the necessary modifications to it need to be undertaken on a war footing or be taken on account in a rather organized or formal manner. Continuing from the previous slide, we will proceed on that in this period, the competition will react. The competing company may do something very similar or absolutely different on what the original company has done. If new and unexpected segments gets added with the use of the product, then a modified approach may need to be evolved. Advertising needs to be monitored for its relevance and quantity. New customer segments, new application, any problems, etc., must be communicated not only to the top management but also to other parts of the company. This is for the people to take advantage of the benefits and not make the same mistakes. Same mistakes. This allows for an enhanced teamwork and synergy between different parts of the organization. And on the last two, which is constantly review the product with channel partners, sales teams, and even with a few select customers to get a sense of the product over and above just numbers. And lastly, as the product passes from the introduction stage to the growth stage, the company must review all the parameters set out for the product. Let's now talk about the new technologies for product launches. Today, there are several new technologies that can be used to launch and support a product. These technologies allow for a cheap dissemination of information and also allow us to present information in a manner that is needed by the target segment instead of the constant usage of billboards which would cost 100,000 or on posters that would cost like materials, labor, and searching about the area on where to post these sort of posters or on handing out pamphlets and placing these pamphlets on certain parts of the office or certain parts of markets and such. We can now be able to use online into to our own benefit and present these products to our targeted customers. In the first one, which is the internet itself. The internet has given companies the ability to disseminate information like never before. One of the big advantages of the internet is that information can be customized in a manner that is needed by the viewer. We can now cater websites based on our audiences. An example is that teenagers and young adults on a site known as maybe Twitter or on YouTube, there would be links or ads that would cater to those certain groups. Second is maybe new moms would be going through Facebook searching for on how to take care or any groups that would be talking about how to take care of newborn child. They would then gain ads that are more catered towards them, known as sort of baby products or sort of helping new moms on their body pains and such. Now we will proceed on social media. Today's social networking sites allow companies to interact with customers directly and engage with them by answering their queries and gently direct them in taking decisions to purchase the product. This type of interaction allows customers to share their experience on using the product. Now, social media platforms where companies can interact with the audience or customers if they have any queries or real feedback allows for more credibility towards the company due to the customers feeling that they are more prioritized or that their voice is being heard. And an additional information is that new products that the company would make can now be announced on these sites as they would have already garnered a good amount of audience that can automatically know any sort of products that are going to be released. Next is electronic mail marketing, or known as email marketing. It is another tool that has been created by the arrival of communication technology, which is the targeting of customers by sending them emails with product information. It can also provide information on where and how to buy the product. This information can be tailored for the target segment by screening the email addresses by the target segment criteria. An example that many of us would know is with Food Panda emails regarding about their discounts or upcoming events for us to participate and hopefully use their product or applications more than before. Next is short message service marketing, or known as SMS marketing. It is another variation to the email marketing and is sent to the mobile phones instead of the computer. This again is a powerful tool in informing customers about approaching product launches. Interested customers may buy the product or even forward the message to friends and relatives, making the job rather easier for the company. Next is interactive TV shows. Today, many TV shows are interacting with their customers. An example is Itbulaga with their One for All, One for All for One. Next is Showtime with what you would see, such as like singing contests and such that. This platform can also be used to cross promote various products as well. An example that you would probably remember is that in between these certain parts of the shows, they would cut off and promote certain products such as maybe MX3 Plus or a supermarket known as Pure Gold, or maybe even advertise a TV show that the channel is going to be um, showing on maybe on the late nights or on the afternoon. This is a great example on interactive TV shows that can be used on promoting certain products or upcoming services. Lastly, in our presentation is the radio jockey promotions. Similar to TV promotions, radio stations also take on the job of promoting several products. They inbuild the promotion along with the radio jockey's interaction with the audience. People listen assuming that it is the radio jockey's opinion, so it has a greater credibility. An example is MX3 Plus, where you would hear customers' positive reviews and then the jockey would then reply back after the ad with their own experience or maybe a paid sort of script that they have to read or memorize. Next is Star Wax Floor Wax, where it would just play in the background after maybe a certain song or maybe a certain part where they would have their commercials.
Thank you for watching and see you on our next video.